word on models. Economists base all their theories and predictions on models. Now, models are extremely simplified views of actions and behaviors that economists use to explain the way the world works. We're going to use these models throughout the class, and we are also going to rely on certain assumptions, set facts, to make those models behave. Ceteris Paribus. Now, this is the Ceteris Paribus fairy, and he's going to be visiting us from time to time. Ceteris Paribus means all else being equal, or all other things being held constant. This is the concept that precedes every economic statement. All else being equal, this is going to happen. All else being equal, blah, blah, blah. Now, we know that nothing ever occurs in a vacuum, and there's never an instance where ceteris is always paribus. But without that assumption, nothing would ever get done because we'd be so wrapped up predicting consequences and reactions, we'd be chess moving out into the future, that we'd tie ourselves up in a knot and not get anywhere. Rational self-interest. RSI is the perception of personal cost and benefit, and it's the guiding force behind a person's actions. People will act in a fashion that will benefit them, and this is based on reality as they perceive it. Investments, charity, purchasing, all things are based on RSI. I think that this is a wise investment, therefore I'm going to invest in it. I like this item and don't like the next item, so I bought this item. The assumption is also implicit that people are not going to do stupid things, but this, however, is not always the case. David Ricardo is the third of 17 children from a Sephardic Jewish father and a Quaker mother. You heard that right. He developed the concept of comparative advantage, the ability to produce goods or services at a lower cost than someone else. This is not just limited to labor, but it can be applied to land as well. The Rogue Valley is similar to only one other region in the world in terms of soil, climate, and weather, the French Riviera. There were two brothers named Holmes who were in the fruit business back in the early part of the 1900s. These two brothers found this similarity out and started growing fruit in the valley, mostly pears. They prided themselves on their pears, which were comparable to pears from only one other region in the world in terms of size, sweetness, and stuff like that, the French Riviera. So there's a comparative advantage at work here. The fact that some resources are absent or in limited supply worked to the Holmes Brothers' favor. They found that they could market these pears internationally and that people would buy them. If every region of the world was able to produce pears, Harry and David Holmes would not nearly have been so successful. Now in the Rogue Valley, pears are giving way to grapevines. The soil, the climate, the weather is very conducive to growing vineyards full of wine-producing grapes. And we're also finding that our climate is conducive to marijuana and hemp farms. The southeast corner of the United States is also climatically ideal for growing cotton and tobacco. Cotton is able to be grown in other places like India, but they don't have as good a climate for growing cotton. So the United States has a comparative advantage over the rest of the world when it comes to cotton production. Positive versus normative economics. So how do we determine efficiency and fairness? Remember, we need to allocate scarce resources among competing and unlimited wants. So we need to figure out the allocation in terms of efficiency and fairness. Two schools of thought have emerged. First one is positive. This is the way things are, looking at factual statements and approaching economics based on what is. The other school of thought is normative. This is the way things ought to be. Instead of looking at the facts, we look at the needs, we make judgments, we look into the future, and we approach economics based on what should be.